Good evening, and welcome to Horror Historian. My name is Amanda, and tonight we will be discussing the 2018 South Korean found footage film Gonjiam Haunted Asylum. Now, when I originally started this YouTube channel, this was one of the first videos that I had that actually got me followers. I wasn't happy with it though, so I did delete it and I wanted to release it now. The director is Jung Bom-shik, who is most known for this movie and has dabbled a bit in other things, but honestly nothing of note. He co-wrote Gonjiam with Park Sang-min. The stars are Lee Ha-jun, Park Ji-hun, and Park Sun-yoon. Ha-jun is most known for Squid Game as the police officer that infiltrated the game runners. Park Ji-hun is most known for the rookie historian Gu Hae-rung, which I haven't seen. Park Sung-hoon is most known for The Glory, and he is in the second season of Squid Game as Player 120. Yes, I did freak out when it finally clicked in my mind that that's who it was. 120 was my favorite character and absolute icon. As for the actor, he was incredibly respectful to this role, and I'm sorry I'm done fangirling about this. This movie is mostly based on a small article that came out in CNN about some haunted places around the world. Gonjiam is a real haunted psychiatric hospital that has been abandoned since 1996 and just kind of left to rot. A lot of the story presented to us in this movie is simply for the plot. In reality, it just closed down because of finances. Trigger warnings for psychiatric malpractice and medical abuse. The movie begins with two teenagers going into a abandoned former mental asylum, Gonjiam. They are trying to get into room 402, which is a room where it was like an intensive care unit for patients while the asylum was open. It's allegedly the most haunted part of the asylum, and it's the only locked door in the entire building, which means don't go in it. But here we are. They stop trying to get into the room when they hear the sound of a ping pong ball. They turn to try and find the source, and that is where the video cuts out. As far as anyone is aware, those teenagers have never been found. We learned this all through Horror Times, a YouTube channel being hosted by Ha-jun. He is talking about this because he is getting a group of paranormal enthusiasts to investigate Gonjiam. There will be 6 people with him. There are 3 women, Ayun, Charlotte, and Ji-hyun. Charlotte has been to a few locations that were on a CNN article about the scariest places in the world. Ji-hyun is a YouTuber that is just really enthusiastic. Ayun has never done anything like this before and seems like kind of like a sweet individual, like naive. There are also 3 men. There is Ji-hyun, Sung-hoon, and Seung-wook. Ji-hyun is actually a massive coward, but Sung-hoon and Seung-wook are different. They are pretending as though they are going into this the same way that the girls are, except they do actually know what is going on. They actually are working with Ha-jun and are planning on setting up Gonjiam so they can make a ton of money off of this live stream. Here's the thing. I don't blame them. You kind of need to have a self-guarantee that you're not just going to be wandering around a dark, creepy asylum and have nothing happen. They're just sharing that they'll have stuff happen and get some genuine reactions. It's still a scummy thing to do, especially when you leave all the girls out of it. And the one guy that isn't really in on it either. I actually wasn't really clear on that. There's some bonding activities such as jumping into a lake and like drinking together. It's eventually decided that Ji-yoon and Ayun are going to be the ones that go into room 402 at the climax of the broadcast. He's come off as like a giant pussy, and she's new to ghost hunting, so together you're gonna get something entertaining. They set up headquarters in the woods, a pretty decent-sized tent with all their equipment and streaming necessities. Ha-jun is going to remain there and monitor the live stream. He'll also be able to give them some heads up to certain areas if he sees something on the cameras. Each person going inside has a camera attached to them. It'll capture their faces for maximum reactions and whatever is happening in front of them. There's also a drone somewhere, but honestly it doesn't do that much, especially once they get inside the building, other than show us that they have managed to seclude themselves pretty well. They use a pair of underwear that they have found in the dirt as a sign to them that they're on the right way back to camp. It's a little gross, but will be important later. When they enter, Charlotte pours some holy water that she collected into a bowl and sets it down. There's a camera on it just so they know if something is going to make its presence known. If there's any disturbance in the water, they will know about it. They then split up to do some exploring. They take a few moments to look around the director's office. She had disappeared after a rash of patient suicides at the asylum. Likely, the fact that there were so many patients dying caused for her to run because that sounds like a bunch of lawsuits, although she has never been found. So, the asylum has been closed since 1979 as a result of the patient suicides and the director going missing. Hands They're hands in that room originally because the door had slammed. When they enter, they find a few pictures of the director surrounded by patients. There's a patient holding a doll, and they comment how the director is the only one looking directly at the camera. Not quite terrifying, since everyone in the picture is severely mentally ill. They find a wig in the ceiling. That was a little bit more funny than anything, or freaked some people out. Charlotte and Ji-hyun go off on their own, with Charlotte tagging her name, and there's a "Let's Live" like already tagged, so she just kind of adds her name onto it. It's something that she has done at every location that she has done at Paranormal Investigation at. I may love the character Charlotte, but don't you dare do that to any historical place that you investigate. Good lord. They're heading down to some kind of science lab where they'll find a bunch of creepy patient files scattered all over the floor. It's all burnt and it's a little creepy, partially from being abandoned for so long, but it also feels a little like someone was like trying to get rid of the evidence. There's also a creepy doll, one that the patient had been holding, but a connection that they hadn't made quite yet. One of them knocks over a jar of something. Um, I don't know what it's supposed to be. It's just real gross looking, just real nasty. The group come together to do a ritual that's supposed to bring out all the spirits. There's a bunch of candles everywhere and like this net of bells, which is actually kind of cool. Um, they are doing the ritual when all the candles blow out and the net of bells falls, and it's supposed to let them know that this place is haunted as hell. It's sure that this is a setup by them. Horror Times likes to set up the scares, and it's truly revealed to us later, but we might as well mention it now. It's mostly Seungwook and Seunghoon that are doing the setup. This freaks the girls out. Ayeon and Ji-yoon are set to go start working on trying to get into room 402. Ha-jun might have thought he was safe from paranormal due to where he is, but the lights start to flicker in the propane stove lights and gets real big. He manages to get control of the situation, but you can tell that he's a little shook up by everything. Charlotte has become more and more on edge as the night has gone on. She's really uncomfortable with the direction that things are going, but it goes over the edge when they see the tag that she had made earlier, except instead of saying "Charlotte, let's live," it says "Charlotte, let's die." But honestly, it's what happens in the collective care room that sends Charlotte and Ji-hyun over the edge. There are a bunch of coffins with holes inside of the room. One of the guys plays a pranks on them, but when Ji-hyun puts her arm into a hole, she is actually grabbed and scratched. That's it. They quit. Ha-jun is a little freaked out because this is not something that they could have set up. So he starts going through the footage as like just doing a run through, trying to figure out like, is there any other moments? Hence, he finds one disturbing moment that he hadn't noticed before. It was from when they were doing the ritual to rile the spirits up. He notices that he has a shot of everyone, all together. 6 people in a frame, but someone is filming them. He has no idea where that 7th person has come from, where they had gone, or how they had been able to stream it to him. There's only one explanation, and he doesn't particularly like those odds, except for the fact that they are getting a ton of viewers. He brings his 2 co-conspirators in to discuss their next option. There is something paranormal going on. They could make major money off of this if they play their cards right. Ha-jun promises that this will happen. Once that is agreed upon, he sees a wheelchair move in the basement, and everything in the room with Seungwook and Seunghoon starts to float. They both get hit pretty hard on the head, and Seungwook is dragged out of the room. Seunghoon is left there extremely dazed and absolutely terrified. Charlotte and Ji-hyun are encountering their own problems as well. They have passed the panties marker multiple times, and it seems as though they are going round and round, even though they have been going exactly the way that they thought they needed to go. Charlotte starts to notice things that had been inside the lab on the ground in front of them. That's impossible, and she even says so, but Ji-hyun isn't really responding to her anymore. She is possessed, and she makes, perhaps, the funniest noise that I've ever heard in a horror movie. Paired with her eyes being black, it's obvious that she's possessed. Charlotte tries to run back to the base camp, but ends up in room 402. The 2 are still trying to get in there, but she's just inside of 402 now. She is not alone. Jae-hyun is there, and she has the doll that the patient had been holding in that photo, and Charlotte is obviously... Han's naked male patient attacks her, and she is pulled into the darkness. Outside of 402, Seunghoon is woken up and running to warn Ah-yeon and Jae-hyun that they are in danger, and that under no circumstance would they actually try to go inside of 402 because the rumors are true. Ha-jun has decided this has all gone a little too far. Ironically, it's kind of so happened to be when they got 1 million viewers, so that milestone has been hit. Ayeon, Ji-yoon, and Seunghoon hear the sound of a ping pong ball. Seunghoon comes to the truth. They had been making all the scares up, and they were just trying to make some money. They were messing with them. Something is seriously going on, and they are in actual danger. His warning comes a little too late. because they hear the sound of a ping pong ball not that far away, and then they are no longer outside of 402. They are inside, or at least we can assume. They are now standing inside of a room with water. There are no doors out of the room, and it soon becomes clear that they are not alone, as in, there are a bunch of ghosts in the room with them. They can, so if they're looking at each other, they can see the hands coming, over their face, but they themselves cannot see the hands. They're, just outside of their view. Hands start reaching out and covering the faces of each person. They are all overcome with quiet but unstoppable panic, as there is no way for them to escape. They can't escape what is happening to them, and they have to accept that their untimely death will be occurring very soon. We get more ping pong balls, and although we don't see them die, we know that it's happening. Hatun has made his way to the asylum, and he is on the move. He's trying to get to 402 or find anyone at this point, but he ends up finding the worst possible scenario. There is someone floating in the air near him, and he is frozen in terror. I think this is probably the director, based on the fact that there are rumors that the director had hanged herself. His neck is broken, he falls to the ground, thinking that they had managed to reach 1 million viewers. The movie ends with Sung-Yun waking up strapped to a wheelchair. He is completely trapped as he is pushed into an open door. We can assume, once again, that this is a room 402. It is revealed to us that the stream only ever got about 500 viewers, and that they seem to be aware that this was all just a scam on the part of Horror Times. We are left with a final image of the bowl of holy water boiling. Gonjiam is it's a very fun movie. It's creepy, it's funny at times, and ultimately, it's just a good time. I wouldn't describe it as the best, and I wouldn't even describe this the best Korean movie, not even anywhere near it. But sometimes movies just needs to be fun. The acting is good. I really liked Ha Jun freaking out as he realized that he was involved with an actual paranormal experience. I'm also biased because I really liked him in Squid Games, but everyone was really good, and Charlotte's actress was a lot of fun to watch. There were plenty of moments that really made it creepy. I admit that I laughed when Ji Hyun started making that weird noise, but pretty much every other point made me feel uneasy. For me, that is just so much more effective than a jump scare. I will say that it's kind of obvious that someone saw that article from CNN and just went ham on it, which isn't the worst inspiration for a movie that I've heard. They also don't dwell on it too much, and they kind of make things up as they go along. The truth is, Gonjiam didn't have the funding to keep going. They closed and have been demolished since the movie was released. They just couldn't afford to keep it running, and no one had the purpose for it. As far as I can tell, and there are not a lot of English language articles about the history of the asylum, there was no ping pong obsessed female director or rash patient deaths. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed this. Would I survive this movie? I don't believe in curses or ghosts, so I'm but I also don't mess with it, if you know what I mean. So I feel like if I was there, probably I'm not going into the cursed room that's locked.